Welcome back to Think Big with Lasindu, and today we have another special guest, Maria Rajput from UK. She pretty much packed all her bags and left behind everything that's familiar and landed in UK in 2006, I believe, with nothing but faith and a vision that hadn't even been fully written yet. But without me telling exactly who she is, I will let her explain. Just give us a brief introduction about you, Maria, and tell us why your story matters.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Lasindu. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I came in 2006 and it will be, well, it's 19 years this year, so 20, yeah, 2 decades next year. That's a long,
Almost two
long
decades,
time.
yeah. Yep.
2 decades, yes. You mentioned faith, nothing but faith. I think I came and I didn't know, what I'm coming for. I did not think long term at the time. Obviously, I was young and naive, and it was just a spur in the moment kind of move that I decided to, apply for the student visa. And I thought, well, yeah, you know what, let me just continue my university in the UK and see how it goes. And initially, I never wanted to stay here. I didn't come with the mindset to actually settle down here, even though, yes, bags were packed and everything. I was settled back home, and I had a good job as well, even though I was still in uni, I had a full-time job. But somehow, when they say when it's written, it's written, it was meant to be
Yep.
for me to just stay here, and I kind of carried on. Regardless of how much I did not want to stay until 2012, until 2012 when I had my first child, and I was like, right, okay, this is where I'm living. I'm staying here
Yeah.
because my kids are being born here now, and for them, this is home. So I can't go away from what is home for them unless they're going with me.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, and that's really beautiful. Because so you mentioned about that you had a full time job. So you came from Pakistan. Mentioned that you had a full time job. So what were you doing before coming to UK, and what was the kind of situation back in Pakistan uh, in 2006, and in early 2000s, and what sort of decision that led you to UK?
Um, Looking back at that time, I know traditionally and normally people come for better financial future, for jobs,
Yeah.
for, you know, they have different purposes. I think for me, it wasn't that at the time. I had a very good job. It was paying a very decent amount. And even though I was working nights, I was sleeping, I think, 2 hours in the morning after work and 2 hours in the afternoon after university. So I was literally surviving on 4 hours of sleep in two breaks. And I did
Yeah.
that for nearly 2 years before coming here. So I started working in 2004. Um, but I was fine, but I was keeping myself busy. And there was a lot going on in my personal life with my father being unwell and everything. And I think looking at the time, I didn't understand any of that. But looking back at the time now, I think I wanted to kind of just run away from all of that, and just, put myself in a different situation so I don't have to think about it and I don't have to deal with it. And I think that was my reason for randomly one day saying, I want to apply for my student visa. And I got it, and I was like, oh, damn, I've got it now. I have to go now. And then I booked the tickets, and I was like, right, it's too late to cancel. I remember
Yeah.
crying at the airport. I was like, no, it's too late to cancel. My mom's going to kill me if I say I don't want to go now. I've wasted too much money. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so I came. But of course, later on down the line, after the degree and everything, and as much as I tried going back, my mom was like, no, you need to start your career over there and get some experience. It ended up, that I became a full-time resident here and I never moved back. And now, coming to think of it, I don't think I can ever go back and live there.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. So back then, uh, so in 2000, like in the early 2000s, so did you pay for all your tuitions and everything by yourself, or did you have certain level of support by your family as well?
I had some support, yes. So my sister and my sister was already here. She came 3 years before me. So my sister and my mom helped at the time. And then, of course, after I finished my degree, So they paid for the first year, and then when I came here, obviously I found a job, part-time job. I think we were allowed to work 20 hours a week. So I was working initially for Iceland, then I moved on to a call center for an insurance company, and yeah, so I ended up earning and saving enough that I paid for my own last semester, and then I paid back most, if not all, what I borrowed from my mom and my sister. So the
That's amazing.
financial, um, I don't want to call it burden, but maybe responsibility is the right word, but that was always there. It was always there. I knew from day one that even if I'm borrowing this amount right now, I do have to pay it back at some point. So yeah, it was, I think from a very young age, like I said, I was working 2 years before even coming here. So I've been financially independent for a very long time. And even before that full-time job, I was giving tuitions to like children at home, like, yeah, younger than me in primary school. So I was receiving pocket money from that. So I think financial independence has played a huge, huge role in my life throughout.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. At the end of the day, that's what matters, right? That we, yes, like it's always good to have some level of support from your family, but at the end of the day, like when you are kind of move to the society, you always want to kind of not as you mentioned, it's not a burden, but kind of a
Yeah.
responsibility to like repay that debt. It's not a debt per se as well, but inside, deep inside, you always feel like it's always good to repay them and take care of them as well at the end of the day. So like
Oh
moving
yeah,
on to like
absolutely.
UK kind of so what was the very first struggle that you kind of remember moving into UK by yourself?
Um, I think coming into a place which has a completely different culture was, um, as much as, in the young age you're excited and everything, but you don't realize it is quite difficult to deal with. Um, I would give two examples here. So I obviously wear hijab, head
Yeah,
cover, as they say, and I used to wear when I first came. But when I first came, I got told by everyone that you're not going to find any jobs if you carry on wearing a scarf. So you have to take it off, you have to take it off. And it got to a point where I was left, and I'm saying left with no options, but I came in October and my first job started in December. And I think that's pretty good considering I'm coming from a completely different country with a different language, different culture. I mean, I could still speak English, but more American accent, I believe, Hollywood influence. But still, I think I was made to think that I wouldn't be able to find a job if I am wearing a hijab. But the first job I found, and before I found the job, I ended up taking the hijab off in anger, thinking, right, how do I make it work then? Um, I also, I think, again, thinking back, I would call it was my young age and it was weakness of my own. We say the word iman, but weakness in my own belief, perhaps. So I've got easily influenced that I have to take it off, and I took it off. And when I found my first job, there were two other girls who were wearing a headscarf there. So I thought, right, okay, it's not that no one can find a job if you cover your head. But I think that was the first thing. Having said that, even though later on when I started wearing it again, this kind of stayed throughout. It has gone a lot better now. I think the acceptability has improved quite a lot in UK, but there are still scenarios, and I still go through experiences where people, directly or indirectly, I know when people are judging me, and I know when the behavior or the way they talk changes because of who I represent. On the funny note, I really struggled with the sense of humor, like British humor. I did not get that. I did not. I remember working with colleagues, and they would joke around and they would laugh at something, and I'm like, is this something really to laugh about? Like, seriously, they
yeah,
really need to up their game on humor.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I find it in Australia as well. Like they're like do like really like I don't know. It's just lame, and they just laugh about it a lot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Like, but yeah,
No,
I
that's
mean,
not funny. It's not funny. I know you're trying to be polite and you're trying to stay with it, but it's not funny. It's not
yeah,
coming out
exactly.
funny. Yeah.
Exactly. But like whoever's watches, like my Australian friends who are
Mm.
watching, they're gonna be like, this guy, like. But it's all right. Like it is
Mm.
what it is. It's the truth.
True.
But yeah, so you believe it's getting better? Because yeah, I have seen like back in the day as well, uh like especially in western, a lot of western countries, that Muslims are getting kind of uh, different type of sort of treatment, I would say, like from the
Mm.
different level of different classes and different other ethnicities in Western countries. But so
Mm.
you believe that is getting better right now, or is it something that's still happening?
It's still happening. It has gone better overall, but it's still happening, and I feel that there are good and bad people everywhere. There are good and bad people in every culture. There are judgmental
Yeah,
people in every culture. There are people who get easily influenced by what is given out by the media. Um, and I mean, to some extent, I do blame them, but to some extent, I don't blame them because this is what they've been brought up with. You know, we are all who we are today and what we represent today. We are literally, the result of our brought up, the values that we've been taught, the education that we received, the company that we've been around, the experiences that we've had. We are all a product of that. I think where I do blame the people is when they believe something and they follow something blindly and then they judge. And I,
yeah,
for myself, I'm not a judgmental person. Like, I have dealt with people from so many different cultures, languages, ethnicities, and I genuinely feel that there are amazing, amazing, beautiful people out there in this world,
yeah,
regardless of where they're from and who they represent in terms of their faith or ethnicity or color or. But so these things should not really matter when we
yeah,
are dealing with people in any capacity, be it work or friendships or in any capacity really. We should, I think, be open to, and the world we live in, the global world, we should be open to, accept others for who they are. Of course, unless someone does something wrong. I mean, I don't think there's any faith in this world who's teaching wrong moral values,
yeah.
who's teaching people to lie or steal or hurt someone in any way. So why the judgment? I don't understand. But yeah, I suppose the media plays a major role in influencing
Oh
people.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I personally believe it's just a kind of a small, like a small minority of the population in this world is kind of like spreading that propaganda. But yeah, I'm not gonna
Mm.
get deeper into that because yeah, I mean,
We can
I'll
go
be
on
posting,
on that.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
be posting this on YouTube. So yeah, I don't want to get banned. Um,
No.
but what I would ask is like so as a Pakistani Muslim, like moved to UK, how did you sort of navigate that? I was like this your identity, and like sort of like were there any moments where you kind of felt isolated, or like with this whole cultural conflict?
I think there's a lot, and I don't think I've ever mentioned this publicly. But the first 3 years of me in the being in the UK, I used to have panic attacks. Um, I didn't know they were panic attacks at the time. I didn't know. All I knew is I would wake up in the middle of the night, struggling to breathe, and just cry. Like, I don't know why it was like I wasn't really sad as such, and I wasn't really going through anything, but I think it was the change that I was struggling with. Not having home, not having, that environment where what I've been used to of. Um, yeah, I think it was that. And then loneliness. You're saying if I ever felt alone or, I think the loneliness was there. I didn't know. I had friends. I did, and like I make friends easily. I started the university and I ended up making friends. A couple of really good ones I'm still in touch with over, 20 years later. Um, so it wasn't that I had no one around. I had my sister, and my sister had been here for 3 years. She had her friends, but I wasn't settling in. I think the environment change was huge. And of course, in the beginning, it was what do people do here when they're bored? What are the activities? And those activities, social activities, are very different to what we do in Pakistan.
Yeah,
Um, even when I started working and there's evening out, so people are going out for dinner or night out, they're ending up in a bar or pubs and drinking, and but I don't drink. So it was awkward for me. I'm like, okay, this is, the first half an hour or so, everyone's normal, and then people get drunk, and then I'm like, who am I talking to? This is a different person now, you know.
Yeah.
So it was very awkward for me to understand, and then of course soon enough I realized, I was like, this is not for me. I can't settle in. So I think it's the adjustment period and the acceptability uh, in a new environment. And it takes time to find people who are aligned with your views, with your moral values, with your personality. Not saying that anyone who doesn't is wrong or bad, but I mean, we're all made different. So none of us are exactly the same. And it's very normal for people to not get along with each other or not connect with each other, because not everyone does. So that time was very difficult for me. I think once the university was finished and then I started working, it started to get a little bit better. The more time I spent, of course, the easier it got. Um, but yeah, I don't think people talk about it or realize, when you live in East or South Asian countries, it's a dream. It's like you're
Yeah.
leaving, you're moving to a Western world. Oh my God, and I remember the first time when I came out of the airport, London Heathrow, and my uncle came to pick me up, and we got in the car, and we were on the road, and I'm like, okay, it's just normal. Like, what's so special about it? Like,
Yeah.
what's the
Yeah.
fuss? What's the
Yeah,
fuss? They've
exactly.
actually got smaller roads than us, and they've got worse traffic. Like, what is the fuss? Why do people want to come here? And then it's raining all the time, which in the beginning I liked. But I think there's these all small little things, and if you don't have the right emotional support, people struggle. And I know people who have been here for years, 5, 10 years, and they still struggle because they don't have that emotional support structure around them. And it's a struggle until you try and embed in. Some of it I feel also comes with age, and with age, as I got older, I became more confident in my own self, and it became easier for me to represent who I am. And for me, it was like, yes, I come from Pakistan and I'm a Muslim woman. And especially when I started wearing hijab again, that was back in, I think, around 2, 3 years. I didn't wear in the beginning, but then I started wearing it again. I did receive some interesting reactions. I remember I was working for this news agency where one day I'm not wearing it. They used to have seen me without the head
Yeah.
cover. And then one day I turn up in the office and I'm wearing something, and then everyone's like, what? I'm like, it's fine. Talk to me about it. I don't mind talking about
Yeah.
it. I don't mind, openly discussing what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But of course, there's different people. People give reactions. Like I said, each one of us are a product of who we've been, what we've been brought up with, our experiences and values. So I don't have any harsh feelings against anyone, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
No, I think that is really important because I mean whoever's listening, especially from East Asia, East Asian countries or like South Asian countries, like
Mm,
or any type of like third world countries who's
yeah.
planning on going to the Western world,
Mm,
some just think like anyone could dream like okay it's gonna be some sort of like a dream world like that they are gonna
mm,
step into, but in reality it's nothing like that you're going to be
no.
expecting. It's yeah, so like yeah, and I think it's really important for people to
Yeah.
understand it's just same as your country, probably like better infrastructure and stuff like that,
Mm,
but other than that everything's similar and might be worse in terms of culture, like culture wise you might have
mm,
to go through a certain level of hardship to like kind of get
mm,
used to that culture. I feel like a mistake that most people do when they kind of go abroad, um,
mm,
they try to take their culture with them instead of trying to like get sort of get adapted to the culture that you are going to step into. So
Yeah.
once you sort of like look at it in that way, like okay, I'm going abroad, I'm going to a new country, I need to get adapted to that culture, as well as like sort of keeping my own cultures things within me. I
Mm.
have to get
Mm.
adapted to that new culture. But people try to not to do that, and they just like try to keep on just living up to the level and standards of their own culture in a new country. I feel like that's where most people kind of mess things up and
Mm.
sort of like get into that difficult
Yeah.
life.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned, because I don't think there's any harm in taking your culture with you. And I don't think completely leave it behind either. I'm not going to change who I am because I'm in a different country. I'm not going to change my moral values. I'm not going to change, and I cannot actually change the way I think. But things do get better over time, because naturally, as a human, if adaptability is your characteristic, then you would you would adapt to the environment over time, and it will become better. And I think mixing cultures, it's beautiful. I think it's amazing. Amazing thing. I mean, look at how multicultural UK is now, 2025, right? There's so many mixed race marriages, mixed families, and it's amazing. Like, people are celebrating different occasions together. The tolerance level, I think, increases mix by mixing cultures, and I think people become more and more open to accept us. So I think there's amazing, as long as, of course, there's no boundaries being crossed and no one's getting hurt. And everyone's boundaries are different, everyone's values are different. So as long as we're not hurting anyone else in that process, I think it's an amazing thing to kind of mix the cultures.
Yeah, no, that is true. By that, what I meant was you need to be open to the idea of
Yes.
like like you're gonna get exposed to
Mm,
different cultures instead of just
mm,
having a closed doors. Okay, like this is the only
mm.
thing that I'm gonna believe. This is the only
Yeah.
kind of world view that I'm gonna have.
Mm,
I'm not gonna be open to any other things. So I think that's what I meant. Like
yeah.
you have to be kind of
Yeah.
open to the other world views and other cultures as well, and
Absolutely.
as you are going to experience it. So
Absolutely. And I
like
think if you stay closed-minded, I don't think you can settle down in a different place ever.
at all, yeah, no,
You just cannot. Yeah.
yeah. So did you ever kind of felt like that you had to sort of hide sort of parts of yourself to fit into UK or the new society, like in professionally or in any way, like or socially?
100%, yes. I think I'd be lying if I say a no. In the first few years, and more than a few years, I think I would say maybe first decade, the first
Wow.
10 years, it's just on because I'm a Muslim, and if I'm praying, it's very uncomfortable for me to be in a workplace and tell my manager, who's not a Muslim, to him I need a place to pray during work timings. It was very, very difficult for me to even talk about it or ask for a space or room. Um, I constantly felt that I'm being judged, and I'm even though I'm not in a judgmental environment, but there are people around who are, and it's not just to do with Muslim, by the way. I think it's just people are different. I have worked, I think, around 7 years ago at a workplace where I started working there as soon as I gave birth to my third boy, and I was still feeding him. And the employer did not offer any space. They did not have any space available for me to go and uh, basically use the room for. And I'm completely forgetting the word right now. Gosh, I've got blank mind. It'll come back in a second. But
Yeah.
basically, it's not just to do with me being a Muslim. It's also to do with being a woman. It's also to do with being a new mother. There's just different experiences throughout. And sometimes I think it's just natural for people to kind of hide that side of themselves, because they're not confident enough to say, well, this is what it is. And I did feel that I kind of hid away that part of me, or I kind of suppressed it with people. Like, I wouldn't talk about my faith, for example. I wouldn't talk about Pakistan or my culture so much in the beginning. Over the years, though, it did get better. Over the years, I was like, you know what, this is how it is. Maybe because with age comes confidence, and I'm more open to, talk about things. I don't feel ashamed for who I am. You know,
Yeah.
I've got enough experience, enough people around me, enough support, and I've got enough experience even work-wise to prove that, you know, it doesn't matter where I come from, and it doesn't matter who I
Yeah.
look like, but I can still, you know, blend into a culture and a society where I do not originally belong, and I can still perform and I can still show great results. So it's, yeah, I think it's very natural. I don't think, obviously, everyone's personalities are different. Maybe some people don't face it. Some people are more outspoken, more confident. I think it took me some time to get that confidence, but now I feel totally comfortable. You know, I feel comfortable having the most uncomfortable discussions on the most
Yeah.
awkward topics with anyone,
Yeah.
because I know how to navigate a conversation now. And not that I didn't know before, but then I didn't know how to handle someone else's responses, I suppose. And now I don't mind talking and discussing the most awkward topics where people don't want to talk about religion and politics. And I don't mind. I don't mind, because I know that in that conversation, I'm not going to hurt someone. I'm very
Yeah.
conscious of that. I'm not going to judge someone for having their own views, and that's very normal.
Yeah.
Everyone's allowed to have their own opinions.
I think that is one of the biggest kind of problems that we have in the world as well, that people, it's not soft per se, but it just, I feel like people care about their feelings
Hmm.
more than the truth or the reality.
Hmm.
So, and I feel like because of that, the truth and the reality is kind of get lost because of how
Hmm.
people sort of feel based on those truth and reality. But
Yeah.
you mentioned about, like, you being a mother and, like, taking your
Hmm.
child into workspace and everything. So how has the motherhood kind of influenced your sense of identity in UK?
It's an interesting question. So no, I didn't take the word I was looking for was expressing. I didn't take the child at workplace, but I had a newborn. I went back to work when he was, I think, 40 days old. It was very early. I couldn't take longer
Wow.
maternity leave because of
Yeah.
financial reasons at the time. But I didn't want to stop feeding him either, and I needed workspace to express during lunch break. And there wasn't anything appropriate. And I remember going through this, for me, very traumatic experience where I'm using the lunch space where everyone goes and have their food, you know, where the microwave is. People want to warm up their food and eat during lunch break, but I'm using that space because that's the only space I was given. And I had to lock the doors and just use 20 minutes to express. And there's people who are knocking badly on the doors because they want to come in and they don't know. And that made me feel uncomfortable. And I was like, right, I can't do it. And I couldn't carry on expressing, hence not carry on feeding my child, um, because I had to go and work and the work wasn't providing that space. And um, there was no other way for me. So I had to obviously change my priorities, or not really change my priorities, but the priority was still there, but I couldn't really, you know, carry on with it. But how it affected me and how it changed, how motherhood affected me and changed me, I think it made me more confident.
Mm,
I think it just,
that's
yeah, in a very different way, in a very different way. Like, one, again, you're working with people who may already be parents, so you have something common to talk about. So it gives you more openness. People are more kind of open to talk to you as well because there's another common element. Um, Two, again, it brought me some beautiful, beautiful friends, you know, some other mothers that I met because of my children, and their friends with these kids, and their mothers became my friends. So amazing, beautiful human beings. And I've, you know, it has been amazing that way. But the whole experience of, um, you know, raising a child, regardless of, you know, what environment we are in and what culture we live
yeah.
in or where we come from, I think it's amazing. It's very scary as well at the same time, but also amazing. Like when they were young,
Yeah.
I would think like, what would they become when they grow up? And
Yeah.
now my boys are 12, 9, and 7. And I can see their own personalities and them forming or turning into so far decent human beings, I would say.
Yeah.
But no,
So
it's
far, that's
very
good.
rewarding. It's amazing. I mean, hopefully it stays that way, but you never know.
I mean, they will. I feel like they will. Um, so like, was there
Inshallah.
ever a kind of a guilt feeling, like you were kind of falling short, either at work or home, as a mother, and how did you sort of navigate through that?
Always. Oh, mom guilt does not go away. Um, financially, my situation only got better in the last few years. The rest of I think the whole my married life in the beginning and all of that was very, very struggling period. So mom guilt was always there. I had to go back to back. Um, then there was this, of course, I mean, the workplaces don't like it when, anything is getting affected. And pre-COVID times, the rules were strict. You have to start work at a set time. You have to end work at a set time.
Hmm.
It was a real struggle how to arrange pick and drops and leaving them with childminders.
Yeah.
That has been a real struggle, and not having family around who can, I mean, people normally leave their kids with grandparents. I did not have that opportunity. So I ended up paying most of my salaries towards childcare because I was thinking more long term that yes, even though, I'm not taking away in my pocket much right now, but then this way at least my career won't be affected. So long term it will benefit me, which it did. But it's not easy. It's not easy. 2012, my first one was born. Again, 3 months I had to take maternity leave. And for a new mother having first child, it's a very, very stressful time period. It's not easy. So the work life does get affected as well. Ended up moving to Manchester from London. And later on
Yeah.
had my second one, and then of course my third one. And it's I think to say that it has been smooth, that would be a lie. But um, I don't have any regrets. I think if anything I've experienced, the difficulties in life, anything that I have gone through has made me who I am today. And maybe it has made me more resilient. I feel less scared to face something, I suppose.
I guess,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think I mean I think having kids, the raising a family is, irrespectively of how hard it is one of the most beautiful things in this world. I strongly believe that. Like, if you don't mind me asking, like, how old were you when you had your first kid?
So he's 12 now. My maths is losing. 26, around 26.
I think that's really
Yeah.
important as well, because I feel like in the modern I don't know if you would agree with me, in the modern day and age, I mean, in a way, like, they have to focus on their career as well. But I feel like in the modern day and age, like young girls, they focus too much on their career, but they sort of never, they sort of like, get into their family life later on, and
Mm,
then they kind of like, struggle having kids, as like, because they kind of forget about the fact, or not forget, maybe kind of sort of ignore the fact that, about the biological clock also that they are
mm,
living on, and then later on they kind of struggle to have kids. And I feel like it's important, like, that um pretty much balance or manage both lives, irrespectively of how the economy or the things that you cannot control
mm,
outside world. But I feel like if you have the goal of one day getting married and raising a
mm.
family, I feel like you should have that sort of responsibilities early on as well.
I mean, you say that it's not easy for a woman.
Yeah, I know.
We live in times where lifestyle has a huge importance.
Yeah,
how we're living, what we're eating, what car we drive, what house we live in, what kind of education we're providing to our children, how often are we traveling, we're going on holidays, what are we buying. These things are really, really important. We're not living that old simplistic life that our parents lived in 60s,
Yeah,
70s, 80s. It's not that anymore, or even 90s, to be honest. Growing up in 90s, it was a very simple life. There was no such competition on brands and this and that. So the lifestyle have changed massively. The expectations have changed massively. Um, and I also, so I do have a traditional mindset in a way that, Islamically and even traditionally, how men were the breadwinners of the house, how men were given the
yeah,
responsibility of bringing food to the table and providing financially for the family, whereas women were allowed to then focus on home and children. That does not exist anymore, by choice or not. It does not exist so much anymore. A lot
yeah,
of it has been replaced. I think in my own family, men out there looking for girls to get married to or start a family with, they're looking for women who are working, who are educated and working, who can share financially in the household. Um, I mean, I'm not saying why they're doing it. Everyone has their choice and everyone has,
yeah,
their way of living. But that is a fact and that it is true because they want to maintain or live a certain lifestyle which they alone cannot provide. Why is it that the men are not thinking, look, this is the lifestyle we want to have and this is the kind of family we want to have. So this is how we're going to provide for our women, and let's look for
yeah.
women who can prioritize children, raising children, and managing a home. But that's not happening. Nothing wrong or right with that, but this is a fact. So of course it has an effect on the women as well and how they think. They will prioritize
I,
careers more because there's financial requirements to meet. And I
I,
was of the traditional mindset, but it changed for me. Like I did not have the option to stay at home with the kids.
yeah,
And I had to work because I had to support my husband financially at the time. Of course, things got better late in the last few years, especially post divorce. And the career kind of picked up. It got better, but now I'm like I've invested so much time in the career, by choice or not. I don't want to waste it anymore.
yeah.
It's not always a very easy, straightforward
I know. Yeah,
choice,
that's true.
but
But if you
yeah.
had the opportunity,
Mm.
would you have been a stay-at-home mom if you had the opportunity and just stay with kids?
If I had
Or
the opportunity, I would have been a stay-at-home mom until my kids were young. I think when they would get school going and stuff, yes, I
yeah,
would have picked up and got working again. Um,
yeah, that's fair.
but yeah,
That's fair. I
but
agree
going
with you.
back in
As
time
they're
with
young,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But then everyone's situation is different. Everyone's priorities are
different. Yeah,
different. Just because I would choose that doesn't mean everyone can choose that or has to
yeah.
choose it. People have their own priorities. If it's absolutely fine for women to focus on careers, if they want to, why not? Considering the environment that we live in, I think financial independence is very, very important for women. If I wasn't financially independent, I don't think I would have taken the decision that I did 3 years ago and raising children alone. So it does play a huge role, and it does make us stronger, which we do need in today's age.
I agree with you. It just my well, maybe not everyone, but I have like I would argue that like it's just most people like um try to like especially like these modern day young girls when they
Mm,
say that like okay they want to become financially independent, they sort of go in the route of not raising a family, but they want to become
mm.
financially independent to say like I don't need a man anymore, I don't need to have a family,
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
pay my
yeah.
own bills, kind of a
I mean,
tone.
that's a joke. I
Yeah,
don't think
I
we're
know.
made to live with each other. I think humans
Yep,
are naturally, we crave company. We need companionship.
exactly.
So I personally don't believe in I don't need a man. That's not true. I think we all
Yeah,
need men need women, women need men. We all
yeah,
need, and we need our
we
families. We
need
need
each
our
other, exactly.
relationships, friends, everyone. I don't think anyone can survive alone in this world. That's not true.
Yeah, I strongly agree with that, and I feel like it's kind of a the messaging is wrong right now. Like,
Mm,
what most people think that, okay, like, what is financially independency mean? It doesn't
yeah.
mean that you don't need a man or you don't need a woman. It
No.
means that, okay, now you are financially independent, now you can have a man and raise a
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
That's what the messaging should be. But yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I feel like it has gotten lost. But so like moving
Yeah.
on to like, how you sort of like, became or becoming financially independent, you kind of get stepped into the tech world. How did that happen?
Um, Organically, very organically. When I was in university, even though my degree was in business and IT, my majors were marketing, and I did not want to go near IT or anything related to that. But obviously, fate had different things written for me,
Different
so
plans, yeah.
it just, yeah. So I started off in marketing, and then, as my kind of jobs changed and progressed over the years, I moved into data analytics, and that kind of moved into the Salesforce side of the world. Having said that, actually, my first ever job when I was in Pakistan, I was using Salesforce in my role there, and back in 2006, and I had no idea what Salesforce is or will be in 10, 20 years. But that was the first time I encountered, and of course, later on, few years later,
Yeah,
after my degree, when I got into tech roles. When I say it was very subtle kind of change, I started off with Salesforce administrator, sales administrator, but using Salesforce, and Salesforce was very new at the time, still quite new. Um, then of course Salesforce launched Trailhead and the certifications and everything, and I was like, oh right, I've been doing this, so maybe I can, do a bit more and do some certifications. And I think the last 10 years have been massively changing, and has had a massive impact on my
yeah,
career, and I'm sure many others out there, with the launch of Trailhead and the certifications and the demand that increased in the UK and Europe generally. It played a huge role in my career progression. And I think one thing that I've learned is the perception of tech roles, which unfortunately still is today in a lot of school students. People think technology or IT jobs is everything to do with coding, and that's not true. I
yeah,
don't know when UK will update their curriculums and the school curriculums, because the students
yeah,
are still way behind. The world is moving, the practical world is moving at a very different pace, and the schools are way behind. The curriculums are way outdated, and the teachers' methodology of teaching is also way outdated, I feel. Anyway, that's a separate conversation. But I have so
yeah,
many friends who have children in high schools, GCSE level, college level, and they're choosing subjects, and they have not been given the right exposure and understanding of tech roles and of career opportunities. And they can't decide because they think, oh, technology, any job to do with that would be coding. I don't want to code. I'm like, I don't code, but I'm in
yeah,
tech. I don't code. Not everything has to be. So I'm doing a lot of like mentoring and for the younger ones, college and university students, and even GCSE students, with my friends' kids and anyone who asks, basically. But giving them the right guidance and kind of explaining them, look, this is not the only career option you have.
yeah,
There's a lot more. So yeah, it kind of, going back to your question, it was a very organic uh, change for me. It was organic move. Started off with admin roles, and then I did some project management, some team leading, and BA roles and consultancy, and more into solution architecture side now.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, no, as you mentioned, it is really important as well, because most, for one, like, most people think like, when you think about tech, it's just kind of like, a man's field only.
Yeah,
I have, yeah, like, probably you must have experienced that as well. Not
it still
like,
is. It's very much male dominated. Still very
yeah,
much is very much male dominated.
yeah, because so how do you kind of like, stay relevant and stay ahead in such a kind of, for one, like, male dominated industry, as well as kind of very fast changing world?
So um, I'm not sure if I think you have seen this on my profile already, but for the audience as well. So last year I registered as a group leader with Salesforce, where
Yeah.
Salesforce allows community group leaders to register themselves and create groups within their own community. So I registered as a group leader and started off a Women in Tech Northwest user group. Um, it was interesting and very enlightening for me. One of the core reasons is when I looked into the stats, uh, more than two-thirds of the population within the tech industry is still men. Less than one-third are women, less than 33%. And then for me personally, I've been very focused in terms of my progression. And I feel like I'm reaching or almost kind of reached that position where it's very hard for me to progress higher up. One, because I'm a woman, and in all fairness, two, because um, I'm also representing a certain culture and faith. And then the higher the roles are, the more they become more client facing, which means the engagements with the clients are different. It's not the same thing anymore. Again, there's, not saying that this is the case everywhere,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, yes. So for me, and then I started looking at senior leadership roles within tech industry, and they're like less than 15 or 18%, around that basically. So very, very small percentage of women in the tech industry are in leadership roles. Forget about women of different faith.
Yeah.
So, and that is very disturbing because I feel that as a woman in tech industry, we do have to prove ourselves a bit more, even in this day and age. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some amazing people that I've worked with in the past few years, really, really supportive managers, mentors, males, I'm talking about. Um, very, very amazing people, and I've learned so much from them. But generally speaking, that is true. Like progression is very, very difficult, and going up higher into to a director level position. I mean, I asked this question to everyone. I don't think I have found. Tell me one woman who wears hijab in the UK and is of director level position. I don't think there's any across
Wow.
tech or even non-tech industries. Unless women go and establish their own companies and businesses and then
Yeah.
obviously give themselves a director position. Other than that, no. And that is a reality,
Wow.
and it's a very disturbing reality.
Even
It
in
does make me
2025.
question, even in 2025, and it does make me question, what world are we living in? Why do we
Wow.
have to constantly prove our worth a lot harder than men or men of other faiths? And it is true. It's a struggle.
Wow. So on that note, what sort of advice that do you have for women, especially like maybe immigrants or uh sort of native um Western women trying to either break the chain and go up in the hierarchy.
Um, I don't think there's an advice for women. I think the advice should be for men, especially men of different faiths who are in those positions and they have the decision-making powers. I think they should be more open and non-judgmental to accepting different genders and people from different faith in higher positions. I think women are doing more than what they can and should. I think women in the education generally or within tech as well, are working hard. There's really, really amazing hardworking women out there doing their level best. Managing, we talked about managing home and children and family life and work life and career. It's not easy, but I feel like women have to do everything a lot more than what men get to do. So there's not much, I think, for women. Yes, keep going, keep going. Raise your children differently, raise your boys differently, so the next generations don't have to go through this. Definitely raise your boys differently. It's a very conscious effort that I am making in my house, having three boys. But I think for today, as of now, I think the advice
Yeah.
is more for men to be more open, more acceptable of different faiths and genders. I mean, we talk about equality in UK, And so many companies are out there ticking boxes. And I don't mean it in a negative way, but yes, they are ticking boxes because they want to make sure that their employees come from diverse backgrounds. They tick the diversity checkbox, the equality checkbox, da 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 da, all of that. But all of those checkboxes are checked only for lower or maximum medium kind of level positions. When the positions become more senior, I don't think the diversity is there and I don't think the equality is there. And again, that's not a feeling, that's just what I have observed. Very few companies, again, this is more generic statement, very few companies are consciously making an effort to actually have diversity and equality in senior positions as well, like leadership level.
Yeah, even I believe, like, the competency is something that should matter. Like, not anybody's color or race
Mm,
or, like, gender or whatever. If a person is competent enough or, like, qualify enough,
yeah,
they should be able to go up
yeah,
in the
yeah,
ladder. It doesn't matter, like, what race or color or gender that
yeah.
they are coming from.
It's a slow
But yeah.
change. It's a very slow change.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. So, in terms of, like, you mentioned CRMs, like, Salesforce and things like that. It's like, in terms of CRM systems, like, what do sort of people get wrong about these CRM systems and this whole digital transformation of CRM in the business right now in the modern age?
I think the lack of understanding. Any businesses and projects that I've worked on, businesses generally they want to transform digitally, but their understanding of what they need is not clear. People
Hmm.
think that yes, once they get a system and they implement it, it should just do magic, but that's not true. I have seen some, I was talking to someone the other day, and I've seen some really, really bad examples of Salesforce implementations, for example, or any CRM implementations where consultancies have come and they've done that hit and run kind of approach that here you go, just to get some quick money and quick contract in. Here we go, we can implement Salesforce for you, 10 days package, £10,000, uh, make you go live. But then what they don't understand is what exactly is it that the business needs, and that lack of understanding of the requirements from the business basically results into an implementation
Hmm.
which goes wrong or an implementation which doesn't really serve the purpose. Um, it's starting to change. It's still not there. Like my focus strongly when I'm working with businesses is very much on the value, like
Yeah,
what do they get in return. If the business is investing on a CRM system, that itself is costing them money. Then they're paying consultancies or implementation consultants or people working, and then they're hiring the right resources, permanent or not. So it's a reasonable amount going into the digital transformation, but what return are they getting, and why is no one monitoring and measuring that return? People come and they want to do things quickly, but then the return is not that quick always. So there can be a phased out approach of transforming digitally. You don't have to just go all in all at the same time. I think sometimes a
yeah,
slightly slower approach may even benefit the businesses more. And I think this is a major, major gap. Businesses know what they need, but they're not asked the right questions. And there's no mapping being done between the goals and objectives that businesses have, mapping it to how the CRM can help them achieve it. And of course, when there's a
yeah.
gap between the two, it doesn't give them what they need.
Yeah, I think that that gap is why kind of, like, led you to start your new chapter in life as well. So just take us through that new chapter, because behind the scenes that we talked a little bit about it,
Mm,
and just tell the audience, like, why now, and sort of what sort of shifted you, I mean, shifted inside you, that sort of,
mm.
like, making you want to do this thing now.
Yeah, so I'm not ashamed to say this, but I have been made redundant a number of times, six, seven times perhaps. I know we talked about it previously as
Yeah.
well, and it's not always redundant, but something would happen, and I would result into me having to find another
Yeah.
job. Nothing ever to do with my performance or my work. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, the company's going into administration or change in the political landscape or the restructuring of the teams or redundancy or whatever it might be. There's been a number of times that this has happened. So first and foremost, for me, I feel like I've had enough. Like, I've had enough of employers coming and tell me basically that I have to go find another job in simple ways, in simple
Yeah.
words. And that to me is like, no, to, in the last 2 years, trying to find progression. I have been very active in the community. I've mentioned registering as a group leader, just being more active in the Salesforce Dreaming conferences and even non-Salesforce conferences, going there as a speaker, connecting with people online and offline, just that, and generally giving back to the community as well, just mentoring the younger ones, just contributing back to in whatever capacity I can. And that I started off that just for my personal brand building, because I thought, right, how else do I get, we talked about progression, how else, being a woman of a certain faith, representing something, how do I get higher than where I am now? And that's where I started. And then I've met so many amazing people who went independent, as a
Mm.
freelancer, or started their own companies in
Yeah.
different ways. And I feel like it's almost a, a God's way of telling me that this is the direction you need to go, because there's been so many signs, and everyone keep asking me, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing this? And I think at the back of my mind, I've just been too scared. Just really like, how do I go about it? I'm not a salesperson by nature, I don't know how to sell. But then there are people who come and tell me, you don't need to sell. You go and help businesses. And I'm like, yeah, I can do
Yeah.
that. I can't sell. I can go and help as long as I get paid for that help. Because again,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
work. But yeah, and I think just going through the whole redundancy process again, I felt maybe, what's the worst that could happen? I'll give it a try. I'll give it my best. I'll see what comes. And worst
Yeah.
case scenario, I go back to finding jobs. So there's nothing to, at least I will not have any regrets that, I didn't even try. So this is
Yeah.
what the new chapter is. I'm trying to establish myself as an independent, I'm still in two minds whether I just go freelancing or whether I've got enough people in my social circle that I can start my own team even, and just essentially start offering services independently. I've worked in the corporate sector. I've worked with businesses of all different sizes. I've got marketing background that I can leverage. So I'm offering digital marketing and digital transformation services with an angle of providing the value back to the businesses and helping them achieve the results that they need. In return for, of course, their support, their contribution. It's not a one-way relationship ever with
Yeah.
businesses, not like an expert will come and do magic. It has to be
Yeah.
two-way. The businesses have to not just provide us with the information, but also collaborate with us and support us and allow us that room to grow and make the changes that we want to make or we suggest. So, collaborating with the businesses to implement those changes and hopefully providing them with the value. And this is where I'm going forward. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe the next time we speak, I'll share more about this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I hope so. You better. So, and
Inshallah, let's
also like,
see. I'm trying.
inshallah, inshallah,
Yeah.
inshallah. And also like you mentioned, yeah, you were scared. So how do you feel now? Are you still scared or excited or both?
Both. Both.
Both. Okay,
Um,
good. So now,
yes, absolutely. I still don't know how to sell. I don't know. I can reach out to people and I can say, right, this is what I have, and do you need any help? Can I help you with something? But that's about it. I don't know. Maybe I need a salesperson. But no, I still don't know anything more than this, to be honest. I think some I am confident in what I can deliver, the service where I do have experience. I genuinely feel I can help businesses and I can, help them succeed and bring back
mm,
value, help them with marketing, creating the strategy, with their digital transformation, kind of helping them compare the options, even businesses who have never used a CRM system. So SMEs who are on Excel files and moving on to something more formal, I can support there. But again, it's, my angle is providing the help and support rather than I can offer you, this pencil for £2 or £10. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
the methodology has changed as well. I don't think that's the way that businesses want to work. They
yeah.
they
I
do want
I
someone to come
agree.
and help. So
I
yeah,
agree. So, what how I would usually approach anything is sort of, even though that you're helping people, you need to make sure that they don't feel that way, and sort of they feel like in a way that they have a big problem and you are solving it, even though technically
yeah,
that you're
yeah.
helping them. You know what I mean?
I mean, problem solving is helping as well, but it's
Yeah,
not selling. You
exactly.
can get paid
Exactly.
for solving problems, but it's not
Yeah.
selling.
It's not selling. It's not selling.
No, no. I
Yeah.
think so. If anything, I've learned in the last 2 years being active in the community is that relationship building plays a major role. So it plays a huge
Yeah.
role. If people have worked with you in the past, or people know you, or you've built some sort of relationship, they know you as a person, they will feel more comfortable giving you the work compared
Yeah.
to giving someone something who they don't know at all. So I think it plays a major, major role. Um, did I network in the last 2 years thinking about this? No, not at all. I think
Not
I
at all.
was just
Yeah.
going with the flow, whoever I'm meeting, wherever I'm
Yeah.
meeting, whatever connections I'm building. What I do feel is I have enough connections out there to support me in this journey who are
Yeah.
or who have gone through something similar. Um, what direction would this take me? I don't know. What I do know is I will give it my level best, and see where we are. It's in, the interesting thing is the last user group meetup that we organized, as part of the Salesforce Northwest user group. I met someone there, and we were talking about my journey and progression and all of this, and uh, he said, "Oh, well, so you're pretty successful." And I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, so you're pretty successful, from what you said." I was like, and it just, it paused me. And it
Yeah.
made me think, I was like, what is success? Is, if where I think,
Yeah.
where I am right now is success to this person, like, is this, like, should I consider it the same way? Like, it's interesting. So I don't think there's any limitations. Where I am and
Yeah.
starting this new chapter, maybe for some people this is success, but then for me, I'm like, no, I don't think so. I feel like I've got potential to do more. I can do a lot more. I'm not there yet.
Yeah. It's, yeah, things like success and all these things.
Mm.
Uh, I think each individual can define how they want their success to look like,
Yeah.
and they just need to work towards that definition that they made. And once they achieve it,
Mm.
they can redefine it and work towards the next one. I think that's what important. So
True.
in terms of your vision, what's the vision that you have, not in terms of products and services wise,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
what's the vision that you have, sort of what's the sort of, I would say, emotional reason
Oh.
that you are doing this, and your long-term vision.
I will link it to, again, being me. I think as a person, I enjoy, and I think it's one of my strengths as well, that I enjoy meeting new people and talking to people and building relationships. Genuinely, like, I really enjoy that part. I think at some point in my young age, I did want to study psychology, so I do enjoy learning about how people think, and that has naturally kind of transitioned into the business world as well. So when I'm talking to businesses, working on different projects, it really inspires me to understand, right, what is this business? What is the thinking behind it? What is their vision? What is it that they're trying to achieve? What is the brand? What is the brand personality? Who they're trying to reach out to? What are they trying to do? Where are they struggling? What are their pain points?
Hmm.
And then based on all of that information, my mind then starts to work, and I'm like, right, okay, I can help them here and perhaps here, and this is where I can contribute. And all those ideas, the business head and the tech head starts to work, and I'm like, right, this is what I can do, and this is where I can contribute.
Yeah.
So in terms of vision and where the long-term growth or my reason, I think it's kind of interconnected with who I am. And I feel like if I'm not authentic, I don't think I can deliver. I feel genuinely passionate about helping businesses and providing them with value. And that to me is a very strong reason. Obviously, add the gap that I've already observed in the market, the value.
Yeah.
Are the businesses getting the value out of their investments? And I'm not talking about
Yeah.
ROI, which is slightly different, but are they actually getting the value back? And the value could be quantitative and qualitative.
Yeah.
And if not, then how can I help them? First of all, are they even measuring that value or not? So I feel like that is a big gap.
Yeah.
Um, we've got tech providers and tech support providers. We've got businesses. What we don't have is the consultants with those business heads out there who can actually help businesses succeed and kind of bridge the gap between tech and the business world. And I think that's where I come in, because I can understand the tech side of the world and I can understand the people
Yeah.
and the business side of the world, and I can help them connect the two, bridge the gap, and then hopefully give them positive results.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of like, making me ask you, like, what is one thing that you have learned, like, in your in when you're working in the corporate world, that you will sort of like, definitely carry into your next new chapter, and also another, like, one thing that you will never repeat.
That's a tough question. There's not one thing. There's so many things.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of
Maybe
things that I
the
have
most
learned.
important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's lots of things that I have learned over the years. Um, my most recent examples, and I give full credit to the manager that I was working with, is navigating the stakeholders and the political landscape within companies. That I feel was a very big learning for me. Definitely something to take away. Um, something that I want to do, I think I need to get out of, and it's very early for me because I'm a consultant and I have been consultant for so long. My natural instinct is just to go and help businesses.
Yeah.
But starting this new chapter, I need to think more practically now. And it's not just about, yes, I can help you here, because what I don't want to do is to set a wrong example where people take my help or my services for granted. End of the day, I'm trying to earn bread and butter, for my family.
Yeah.
So there's, of course, a cost associated to the service. Um, so what I do need to be very mindful of and try and restrain myself is getting into that where I'm being too helpful and I shouldn't be, where people end up taking
Yeah.
benefit, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
know it's hard,
Advantage of, yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I've spoken recently with one of my very, very old managers, someone I worked with 9, 10 years ago. And I reached out to him for support and some guidance, and he was very kind to just, book that 20, 30 minute conversation with me because he's been in sales all his life. He's a very good salesperson. And I said, right, what do I need to do? And, tell me, because it's not natural to me. And he said, one of the things he said, apart from all the other tips that he gave me, one of the tips he said, you shouldn't be too nicey nice, like you need to think slightly differently. If you're being too nice, too friendly, then, people may mistake you for something,
Yeah.
they may not even take you seriously. And that's something that I'm trying to implement, and being, very, very conscious of. Yes, I can be nice as a person. It doesn't mean that I need to be rude, but, I need to
Yeah.
present myself in a more serious way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Um, what is, yeah, because I feel like people always kind of like, misunderstand that, and people always try to, like, get advantage out of people, like, when you just try to be nice, they're like, oh, okay, like, yeah,
Hmm.
this guy, like, we can like kind of like, shrink him up, or like shrink her up, and like,
Hmm.
get the maximum out of her. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen that happen quite a lot as well. But yeah.
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 I
No.
think something to add, here, I would say, even though like the natural instinct to help, but again, I think it does come with experience. It does get better, but I'm not naive either. I think when people try to get into that zone where they're trying to take advantage, um, maybe they can do it once, twice, a few times, but it doesn't last
Yeah,
forever. And it
exactly.
leaves a different impression of those people. If I'm dealing with them, like, I would have a very different impression of them on me, and I would rather not work with someone like that either. Because even though if I've helped them, it doesn't matter, but I have learned something about them as a person and how they deal in a professional life. And I would rather not work with someone who is there to just take advantage. I would have much more respect for someone who values my time and their time, and they have respect for my time and their time as well. And it makes a difference. Um, there are people out there who are not the decision makers, yet they want to engage to get ideas for their own
Yeah,
roles so they can do their own
yeah,
job better.
yeah,
Um, and I feel like I just need to learn how to say no politely yet professionally. That if there's no clear direct, because again, when you are trying to establish yourself independently, you're going through a journey,
yep,
and that journey, it's not easy, but then people need to respect that as well.
yeah. I think saying no is a
Mm.
superpower that
Yes.
not many people have. No,
No.
like
No.
it's a superpower. Like if you have the capability to say no to someone,
Mm.
like you are like 1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
99% people they can't say that word.
Yeah. And being respectful at the same time as well.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
exactly.
time wasters out there trying to take
Exactly.
benefit, yes, but I think we need
Exactly.
to, it's a skill in itself to learn how to stand up
Yep.
for yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, what is kind of a misconception that people have about you?
I think exactly what we were just saying and talking about. I'm too
Yeah.
nice. Not that I'm a rude person anyway, but sometimes I feel, and as I've been told by a lot of people, I come across as someone with, uh, yeah, I've got a very gentle nature as a person. So I come across as someone who's very friendly, very helpful, very gentle, very soft. But what they don't know is, yes, I can still be all of that, but if you try and take benefit, I mean, I'm saying personally and professionally, I've had so many experiences already. But if you get into a zone of where you are trying to take benefit of that, I may quietly observe that for some time, but then I also
Yeah.
know how to put the walls up and step away
Yeah.
and protect myself. And I think that I've heard this so many times as a feedback from a lot of people, personally and professionally both. Um, and I'm like, yes, and I don't mind, to be honest, to some extent, I don't mind giving that impression because I don't want to come across as rude either.
Yeah.
Um, and people will learn, and people have learned in the past. Anyone who has dealt with me, again, personally and professionally, when they crossed that limit and I had to put up my wall, I had to put up my wall. And then they realized, right, okay, you know, there's a limit.
There's limit.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I think people
yeah,
do need to understand about it. Like,
yeah.
one way or another. Like, because the thing is, like, when they were able to do it to someone else, they think that they can
Mm,
do it to everybody. So
yeah,
they think and they believe that they can just get away doing that to every single person until
yeah.
they pretty much, yeah,
They
get
exhaust.
struck
Yes,
again.
yeah. They
Yeah.
exhaust all
Yeah.
their chances. But I think what people don't understand is, they are damaging their own reputation and their own
Yeah.
image as who they
Yeah.
are. They're representing themselves by doing that.
Yeah.
I personally, I have, um, I don't want to say it in a boasting way, but I do have strong, high ethics set for my own self and high moral values. Like, I'm very conscious of how I'm going to deal with people, what lines I shouldn't ever cross, what ethical standards I should follow personally and professionally. And I do feel that this is very important to me. So when I engage with people who are compromising on those ethical boundaries, it's a red flag for me. and professionally, this happens a lot. People would want to squeeze in an extra this or extra that. I've seen this in so many projects. They're trying, it's one thing to haggle the price and negotiation, that's normal. But it's another thing to try and get into a zone where you're taking benefit of someone's situation. And that to
Yeah,
me is crossing the ethical boundaries. But then
yeah.
again, people, how we deal with others, we represent who we are. So I'm very conscious of that, and I do observe that as much as it looks like I don't understand anything.
No, I mean that's
Uh,
completely fine, and I believe like you should be. I think everyone should be
yeah,
conscious of like that, and
yeah,
try to understand like what's really going on around them.
mm,
But people often tend to like put a blind eye to
mm,
the like real truth, like to the reality
yeah,
that's happening right in front of them,
yeah,
and they just fall into traps, and
true,
they tend to realize it way later when things are like have gone much deeper. but
yeah.
but yeah, yeah, that's true. So if you could just kind of like go back into 2006, what would you sort of whisper to the Maria that landed into the Heathrow airport in 2006? What would you
Oh
tell
dear.
that self of yours?
What would I tell my younger self back in 2006? All the best. You've got a journey ahead. Get ready. Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Buckle up. You're in for a ride. Yeah. I don't regret. I do not have regrets in my life
Yeah,
generally. I'm not one of those who would say, oh no, what if this, what if that, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. I feel, again, we talked about who we are as a person. I am a product of my own experiences as well.
exactly. Yep,
And they have shaped me and made me who I am today. They have
yep.
made me more resilient. They've made me also very sensitive. We touched on and I mentioned about the ethical and moral boundaries and values, and all of that is also to do with my experiences, because when I see people doing something wrong, I'm very conscious I don't want to be that person. Um, when I see people crossing lines, I'm very conscious that no, this is not where I want to go. And at the same time, I've seen amazing examples as well. When I see something good in someone, I'm like, yes, I want to do that, because this
Yeah,
someone's good little habit, or something, a good task, something good that they've done has helped me. I should then return that favor back to the universe and do that. And I've
yeah,
tried to do it and implement that in myself, in whatever capacity I can. And it plays a major role as well. So yeah, going back to my old self, I don't think there's nothing much. I think about it now, like if someone was to come and tell me what my next 10, 20 years would be, do I want to know? No, I don't want to
yeah.
know. Do I want
No,
any
that's
hints? No. Yeah. So
no.
yeah, like I
I think
said, I
that's
can't say
fair.
anything to my younger self. I'd say all the best.
I think that's
Yeah.
fair. I believe the reason why people kind of regret their past decisions is that they don't take accountability and responsibility for the things that they are doing, and
Mm.
learning their lessons out of those actions, and they
Yeah.
sort of like tend to put the blame on somebody else or like something else,
Yeah.
instead of taking the accountability, and then later on they tend to
Exactly.
regret those decisions. But yeah,
Exactly. And also when people don't put their level best in something, like anything I have done in
yeah,
my life, I have put my full effort in. So I have no regrets whether something worked or it didn't work. And if it didn't work, it didn't work, because I could not have done
yep,
anything more than what I already did. Again,
exactly.
and I'm talking again from personally and professionally, at jobs and personal life, in any situation, it's who I, and this is why I don't have any regrets ever, because I've done what I could in the given time to the
Yeah,
very best level. And I took, again, mentioned responsibility, and I took accountability, and keeping all of that in mind at the given time, with the resources that I had, with the
yeah,
maturity that I had, I could not have done any better, and that's why I am happy with where I am, where life has taken me.
yeah,
Who I am today. Hopefully,
yeah,
above and beyond, I can do more, but Alhamdulillah for where I am today.
yeah. So Earlier you mentioned about like a person coming into you and said that you are successful. But you sort of like looked at it in a way like am I, or whether am I not?
Yeah.
Right now, like what does success mean to you?
I think it's very different for everyone. I think you've said this already. Success is very different for everyone. Some people
Yeah.
associate success with money, so being more financially strong. Some
Mm.
people associate it with happiness, which may or may not be financial. Um, it's interesting. I think where you see yourself in future. Each and every one of us, I think we all know our potential. You know what is your capability and how
Yeah.
much more you can do and achieve if you were to put every effort in. You started this podcast, you started these other side hustles as well, and you know what your potential is and where you can take it. But if you don't do it, then that's not success. Because
Yeah.
you had the capacity and you didn't do it.
Yeah.
If we put our efforts in and we do everything in our capacity, regardless of what the result is, that is success to me. I don't want
Yeah.
to associate success with financial gains or
Yeah.
happiness or even peace. I mean, it can be very stressful. Things can get very stressful,
Yeah.
very panicky. But we learn from everything that don't work as well. It's a lot common with entrepreneurs like you. You're not an entrepreneur if you haven't failed. And that's
Yeah.
normal, but then you learn from those mistakes and you learn what not to do and what to do, so it helps, and that to me is success, because you're learning and you're improving and you're moving forward. That is success. But obviously when someone comes and tells me in the capacity that they think, I'm like, okay. Like, it just came as a surprise to me. And I wasn't expecting that, and maybe their idea of success is where I am today and what I've achieved, and that's why they think of me as successful. But for me, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I have a potential to do a lot more, and I can do a lot more, and I want to do a lot more and achieve a lot more. So to me, I'm not
Yeah.
there yet.
I mean, I believe that's really powerful. That's really powerful because, yeah, as you mentioned, to an outside person, you can be
Mm,
successful, but in your heart, you feel like, okay, you know the potential and you know where
mm,
you should be at or where you should be heading,
yeah.
and you should be like, going towards that direction.
Mm.
That's true. So, before we sort of like wrap things up, I'm just gonna ask like, quick, sort of, rapid questions.
Okay.
Um,
So
okay,
rapid
so
fire.
yeah, rapid fire
Yeah.
questions.
What? Rapid fire. So this is not going to be rapid fire.
Um,
Yeah.
tech or family first?
What's the first option? Sorry.
Tech,
Take. What do you mean, take or
tech, tech,
family?
technology.
Oh, technology, tech.
Yeah,
Tech or family? Family. Family. Of
always,
course, family. Always.
always.
It's no replacement for family.
Your best corporate job that would pay you maybe let's, I don't know, 200,000 pounds per year, or your own business would may give you pay you 50,000 pounds per year.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I have bills to pay, But maybe if we increase the own business amount and revenue a little bit, it might be that.
That's fair. Yeah,
As long as
yeah. I mean,
I'm
I
paying the
understand.
bills.
Yeah,
I would go for independence
yeah.
as long as my requirements are being met and I can pay the bills. I would go for that.
Yeah. Legacy of freedom.
Freedom. I think it has become more stronger that I need that in the recent years than anyone, and before. Like, I'm not a risk taker. I'm saying that, but then people say I've taken risks. I don't know. I feel I'm not a risk taker. It scares me, but at the same time, the freedom I'm looking for is the flexibility of being able to spend time with my children, pick them and drop them from schools and take them out when I need to for holidays or travel or any of that. And I think that family life is very restricted and affected when you have a corporate job. And again, we had good few years post COVID when, again, there was remote roles and everything, the employers were more flexible. it's changing again, and people want to be coming into the offices, and it's just, yeah, it's changing things again, which has an, in my case anyway, a negative effect on my family life.
Interesting. Um, build slow and strong or fast and risky?
Slow and strong,
Always.
always.
Always. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a slow person
Um,
apparently, as I've been told. But no, I take my
interesting.
time.
Okay.
I take my
Yeah.
time, I analyze,
I
and
think
then
it's important.
yeah,
Sometimes you have to like, make quick decisions, but even though
yeah,
you have to make quick decisions, you have to
yeah,
analyze things properly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. That's fair. One word that would sort of like, describe your whole journey so far.
Panic. My whole career journey, I think change.
Okay.
Change is a good one
Change
that
is the good word.
represents my career journey because of the amount of changes I've gone through. Yeah.
If you had an extra hour every day, how would you spend it?
Um, Depending on the weather and the time of the day, I would want to sit outside in the garden with my peaceful cup of tea and just like I'm one of those who enjoys the sunrise or sunset moments in peace and calm. Or if I have a
That's
beach
lovely.
nearby, I would go for a walk.
That's lovely.
Yeah,
Um, structured routine or creative chaos?
mix of both.
Mix
I'm
of both.
structured and organized person, but I can be very spontaneous as well, and I can make the most random, spontaneous plans ever.
That's nice. That's
Yeah,
always nice. Like
yeah,
when you can make like spontaneous plans. Like that's
yeah.
that's fun as well. If your kids could remember one thing about you, what do you hope that is?
They think I would like to think that their image of me as of today stays. They think I'm a very cool mama. I'm a very cool, fun mama because they compare me with the mothers of their other friends, and they think I'm a very cool and fun mama. And as long as I keep taking them on holidays, they're happy with me.
That's fair
So
enough.
yeah.
That's fair. Um, s- the last question.
Hmm.
What does think big means to you?
No
Yeah.
limits at all. I don't know if you're aware of this, or if you've heard this before or not. Um, Being a Muslim, and I think in any faith anyway, when we pray to God, when we make dua, as we say in Islam, we 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 are taught that we should pray like a child because the child has
Yeah.
no limits in their thinking, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't think realistically or what is practically possible. They can think of a flying
Yeah.
car because they want it and they can ask for it, they can pray for it, right?
Yeah.
So to me, thinking big is without the limitations of what is possible and what is not. Thinking big is manifest the hell you want, however you
Yeah.
want. And I think if you keep manifesting it and you work hard for something and you pray for it, magic happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is so true. It just I feel like in the modern day and age, people manifest, but they don't
Yeah.
work hard towards it.
Yeah, I mean,
They
it has
try.
to be both. You can't just
Yeah.
manifest it.
Exactly.
I can stay in bed all day thinking and
Yeah.
manifesting things, but
Exactly.
that's not going to give me anything.
Exactly. People try
Yeah.
to stay in their comfort zone and just
Yeah.
keep on manifesting without putting the effort
Yeah.
towards their manifestation.
Well, you got to
But
be
yeah.
comfortable with the uncomfortable to achieve success and get
Yep.
to that thinking big level.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like what people don't understand is in order to get to the level that you want to be, you have to go through certain level of discomfort. I
Yeah.
mean, because that's like, I mean, that's the case in anything. I mean, even
Mm.
when you start going to the gym, it's really difficult to weight lifts
Yeah,
until you become strong. So before you becoming
exactly.
strong, it's really difficult. It's hard. So then you become strong, and then it's
Yeah.
gonna be easy. So it's like that in
Yeah.
everything in your life. It's gonna be difficult until
It
it's
will always be difficult if you're progressing forward. Lifting
yes.
weights is difficult the first time, but then if you are progressing and you're increasing your weights every time
Yep.
or every few weeks to try and push for more and more and more, it will always be difficult. But
Yeah.
then again, you need
You are
to
getting better.
accept it. Yeah, yeah, you're getting
Yeah.
stronger, right? So there is results there. You just need to keep working hard every time. That's the key. I don't think you shouldn't look for a comfortable spot. If you're trying to get more comfortable, then your progression stops. If
Yeah.
you carry on being comfortable with the uncomfortable, then your progression continues.
Yeah. 100%. Um, the one last question, like, what is
Go for it.
a one message that you want to leave to the audience, to the listeners, anybody, like, who have big dreams? What is a message that you want to tell everyone that is listening?
I would say, well, you're saying one message. There's a few things coming to my mind, and
Go for it.
I'm going to say the words and then I'll connect it. So the words came to my mind was peace, think big, um, and working hard. No limitations.
Yeah.
And I think if you connect them all, and live and let live again, being more open-minded. So if you connect them all, I think that itself is a strong message that you will find peace in whatever you do, as long as you work hard, you think big, and you work for it. And just be open-minded, live and let live, let people do theirs as well, what they're doing. And I think that itself, personally or professionally, it does wonders, I feel.
Yeah. That is a strong message indeed. That is lovely. Well, thank you so much, Maria, for joining with me in the Think Big with Lasindu podcast. So before we wrap it up, tell everyone where they can find you and how they can reach you out.
Yes, of course. So I am on LinkedIn, as everyone else is, Maria Rajput. You can find me on LinkedIn. And the business or the company that I'm trying to establish, my new chapter, Eloquent Synergy, the website isn't there yet, or not what I would like it to be. But yes, you can search for Eloquent Synergy or just by my name. Easy to reach out to. You can send me a message on LinkedIn or send a connection request. Happy to get back to you. And yeah, even if you need advice, if you need support, if you're someone, early in your career, if you're kind of navigating your way or you're still in university trying to find what career options suit you, feel free to get in touch and I'll be happy to help.
Yep, and I will put all those links in the description as well. So, guys, so that's another episode with Think Big with Lasindu, and as always, stay sharp, stay obsessed, and think big.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.